group? Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening, everyone. Can you see me in the SJDA group? Apologies, a little bit dark. Let me put some light on. Okay, can anyone hear me or see me? If you could just let me know in the comments, that'd be great. Assalamu alaikum. Okay, assalamu alaikum. So thank you very much. Okay, so thanks very much, Maha, for inviting me to join the group and for asking me to talk briefly. If it's okay, Maha's doing a very good job. She knows very much about the exam, and you know, the information she gave so far, very, very helpful. I'm just going to share a few specific things that some of you not familiar with the exam might find useful, tell you about how you can prepare for it, and then I need to head off for something else. I've got a prior engagement. So I'll leave you with Maha, but I'll tell you about some of the things that you will be able to find useful. So I'm going to share my screen with you. Just give me 1 second and I will share. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to talk a little bit about how different specialties use the SRA and just go through some important things in terms of how you can prepare. After that, I'm going to leave you with Maha, who will talk you through a little bit more of other things. So I just want to allow a couple more people to jump onto this so that they can see me and hear me. Can everyone see my screen, which should show you the slide that I'm looking at, which is how different specialties use the score from this exam? Okay, I'm going to step back a minute. We'll come on to that. I'm going to go back over some of the stuff that Maha said and tell you a little bit about this exam. Great, it looks like people can hear me. Perfect. Okay, so the specialty recruitment assessment is used by 8 different specialties. Now, you can actually sit this exam in venues all over the world. If you are applying in round 1 for specialty training entry, the dates for the exam are from the 3rd to the 14th of January. There are no other dates for that round. There is another round which happens sort of March, April time, and another one which happens in around August time. It lasts 3 hours and 5 minutes in total. The whole thing's done on computer. As Maha mentioned, the first exam is the professional dilemma, which often international graduates find more challenging because it might be a new type of question. That's 110 minutes to answer 58 questions. And then you have a 2-minute gap and the clinical problem solving paper, which is 75 minutes to answer 97 questions. There are multiple versions of the exam. So the person sitting next to you will have different questions. The person sitting the next day will have different questions. But all exams have the same proportion of easy, medium, and hard. So we can compare the scores of someone that sits it on one day to someone that sits it on another day. Okay, so that's the basics of the exam. You cannot just sit the exam. You have to first apply to one of the 8 specialties that use it and have your application accepted. So if you don't meet the eligibility criteria to apply for that specialty, for example, you can't just sit the exam and hope you get a good score. For example, you've got to apply for GP training and have your application accepted, then you'll be invited to book the exam. Okay, so let's talk about how different specialties use it. So the 8 specialties are GP, neurosurgery, psychiatry, child and adolescent mental health services, clinical radiology, obstetrics, community sexual and reproductive health, and ophthalmology. If you're applying for one or more of these 8 specialties, you have to sit this exam as part of the process to get an interview and to get a job. You don't sit this exam, you have 0 chance of securing a job in specialty training at ST1 or CT1 level. You just sit the exam once, even if you're applying to, 2 or 3, let's say you're applying for GP and psychiatry and radiology. You sit the exam once. The same score will automatically be filled into the Oriel account. Oriel is the system that you use to apply to specialty training within the NHS, okay? But each specialty gives different weighting to the score in the exam. GP is the one where it has the most weighting. 60% of your overall rank is based on your score in this SRA. And in GP, the SJT paper is worth more than the professional dilemma paper. Okay, so the SJT paper is worth 40%. That should say clinical there. Okay, the clinical paper is worth. Sorry, just go back there. The clinical paper is worth 20%. Okay, In GP, 60% is based on this exam. The other 40% comes from the stage 3 selection center. That's where you have the multiple communication skills assessments and a written prioritization and essay paper. Neurosurgery is the specialty where this has the second most weighting. It's 40% of your overall rank. 60% comes from interview and portfolio. Psychiatry and child and adolescent mental health services, this is 1/3 of your rank. The other 2/3 comes from interview. Radiology, it's 33% of your rank. Obstetrics, 25%. And that's the same for sexual and reproductive health. And ophthalmology, it's 13% of your rank. The other 87% from interview. There are 2 specialties, GP and psychiatry, where if you do really well in this, you don't need to go to the interview stage. You can get a direct offer. So in GP, you've got to be in the top 10%. In psychiatry, you need a score of 541 combined between the 2 papers, okay? Out of a total of about 660. So again, you're a very high scorer. So what can you do to prepare for this exam? Okay, for the clinical paper, what you want to do is you want to cover as many questions as possible and do as much practice and consolidate your knowledge. Useful resources. Just one second, I see if I can find the slide for you. Okay, just a second. Okay, so in terms of the reading list, if you want to be reading up and doing some revision for the clinical paper, the Oxford Handbook of Clinical Specialties, the Oxford Handbook of Clinical Medicine, and the first 10 pages of the BMF are useful resources, okay, in terms of revising specific topics. What you want to do as the bulk of your preparation is to practice questions, okay? Now, there's lots of books out there, there's lots of online revision services out there. The eMedica online revision for the specialty recruitment assessment was designed from the ground up to be as close to the real thing as possible. It's got over 2,000 questions. It will take you 100 hours of study time to cover all of the questions. Has questions for both clinical and for the SJT. I'm just going to show you, if I can log in. I'm just going to show you what it looks like and how to use it, okay? And then I'm going to hand back to Maha, okay? So hopefully you can see my screen. It just take a second to catch up. For the professional dilemma paper, this exam's a lot more about technique. It's not just about knowledge, but it does help to have a good working knowledge of GMC ethical guidance, when you can and can't breach confidentiality, how to deal with different ethical dilemmas, what to do if a patient offers you a gift, how to deal with someone who's near the end of life, how to deal with someone who, for example, has refused a treatment or blood transfusion, and so on, okay? So things like that would all help, okay? So let me just share my screen now, again with you. Okay, so hopefully we'll catch up. Right, I don't know if you can see my screen. So this is our online revision service for the specialty recruitment assessment. You can see once you log in, there's a study guide which you can download. There's clinical questions which are mapped to the different, remember Maha mentioned the 12 different areas: cardiovascular, respiratory, surgery, ENT, gastroenterology, neurology, peds, hematology. We cover all of them. The whole curriculum is mapped. When you select a question, what happens is you press start. You've got questions. This is how they're laid out. When you select an answer, it will give you an explanation so you can do your revision as you go. And let's say that you left this, okay? Let's say that you left a set of questions. So let's say now we logged out of that. If you then come back later on your phone or on a different device or on a tablet and it's mobile friendly, if you came back, what happens is it will give you the option, would you like to start back where you left off? And it remembers where you are, so you can just carry on rather than starting the whole set again, okay? So the way that we recommend you approach this, you want to cover all 2,000 questions. It's going to take you over 100 hours of study time, but start with whatever you're least confident in the clinical questions. Go through all the different subjects, go through all the questions, then do the clinical mock exams. We've got timed mini mock exams, 3 full mock clinical exams in the right format, 97 questions in 75 minutes. And then go through all of the situational judgment test questions. And once you finish that, do a full mock SJT, okay? So when you start a mock, it's very like the real exam in that you have a timer that counts down, you move things up and down to select the right order, and it gives you, explanations when you finish, okay? So that's how you're going to prepare, and you want to have a good handle on your ethical guidance. All right. So let me just stop the screen share so you can just see me now. And I just talk to you a little bit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take questions that anyone wants to ask. So main things you want to do, allow enough time, because something really important. Unlike, say, PLAB, which is a pass-fail exam, you either pass or you fail. This is not a pass-fail exam. This is competitively ranked. The better you score, because remember, this score is going to be added to your interview score to determine your overall rank. Okay, the better you score, the better you're going to rank overall. So every mark makes a difference. So you don't just want to scrape a poor score and get through. You want to aim for the best score possible. Aim for 100%. So you want to work really hard, put down as much effort as you can, because you're competing with other people. And then this score carries over and is added to your interview. Do you see? So if you score really well here, then as long as you do fairly well at interview, you're going to get a job. And you do really well at interview, you can get your first choice job. Okay. So how to prepare? Do the reading, practice the questions, and I will post a code into the group. If you use the code SJDA, then either for the online service or for our SRA Crammer course. So our SRA Crammer course is a full-day intensive course. We have the whole morning on the clinical paper. You'll do a 50-question mock. We'll cover important topics, clinical topics as lectures after we've done the mock. We'll look at exam technique, and then the whole afternoon, 4.5 hours on the SJT, which, as I mentioned, a lot of international graduates find more difficult. We'll cover all of the knowledge that you need in terms of ethical guidance, GMC guidance, and then we'll do a timed teaching mock and go through detailed explanation. So you don't just understand what is the right answer, but why is it and how to rank different scenarios. So come the exam, you're used to the time pressure, you're used to this type of question, which might be new to you. So if you use the code SJDA, small letters, you can get either £20 off the online, or 10% off the online, sorry, £20 off the course, or 10% off the online revision. You can book a bundle of the course and the online together, which is already discounted. Use the code, it will give you a further £20 discount, okay? So what I'm gonna do is, for the next 5 minutes or so, I'll take any questions people have got, and then I've got a meeting I've got with someone else I need to get away with, because it's just coming up to 8 o'clock. So anyone wants to ask any questions, please type your questions and I will try to answer them, okay? I'm just going to give a second for you guys to catch up your post, and then I will answer questions. So if anyone's got any questions, please feel free to type your question and I will try to answer it for you. Just seeing if there's any questions. Okay, so I can't see any further questions. I don't know if there's a bit of a delay. I'll sit on here for another minute or two in case anyone's got any questions. After that, I don't know if there's a bit of a delay. I'll sit on here for another minute or two. Okay, so I can't see any questions. If anybody else wants to ask any questions, otherwise what I'll do is I'll hand you back to Dr. Maha, and Jazakallah khair for asking me to speak. I will be hosting a longer SRA webinar for free, okay? And I will ask Maha to link and give details to people in this group. That will be about an hour and a half. And what we'll do is we will cover some teaching in more detail. We'll go through some practice questions. It's free to join, so you're all welcome to join me on that. I'm just finalizing the dates for that. So I'll post the details to Maha. She can post them in the group, or I'll post it in the group. So you'll be able to join that. That will be over on the eMedica Facebook page, okay? Or we might do it actually as a webinar. So some of you will be able to join to get some focus on that. After that, if anybody wants to attend the Crammer course, they're running in Birmingham, London, Manchester. The first one is the 24th of November in Birmingham. If you can't attend in person, you could actually attend, if you're in Sudan, you can attend from there. You can sit the exam outside of the UK. You can join the live stream and engage from there. What I would say is, because it's not a pass-fail exam, if you haven't already started revising, if you're planning to sit in January, you've got less than 2 months to the exam now. Please start tomorrow, okay? It's a bit late tonight. You're probably going to get ready for bed soon, but start tomorrow. Why? Every question you can do, every extra bit of effort you can put in, the more likely that you get a good score, the more likely that you get to interview, first of all, because if you don't score well in here, you won't get to interview at all, okay? And then once you're at interview, this carries over, added into your interview score to give you the best score possible, okay? Okay, so there we are. Ahmed's asked a good question. Is it better to go through several question banks or just concentrate on repeating the same back a couple of times? Great question. What I would recommend you do is try to go through all of our questions. Between now and January, to be honest, you might not find, if you're working, you might not find time to finish all of them. At least do the ones that you're least strong in. If you finish all of them, you will gain more by doing a different set of questions than repeating the same ones multiple times. Because when you go over the same question a second time, sometimes you haven't learnt the subject, but you remember, oh, it's that picture of an ECG, it's that answer. Do you see, in the real exam, you're not going to get that exact question, are you? You're going to get a different question about the topic. So to show that you've actually learned it, if you did a different set of questions, you'll learn more, okay? So, try to go through one properly, try to do all of ours properly. If you finish all of those, you will definitely learn more by doing a different set than repeating the same one multiple times. Because often when people repeat the same one multiple times, they just learn that specific question rather than the topic, okay? Muhammad's asked, is the online Crammer similar to the face-to-one? Yeah, essentially, you'll see the questions, you'll hear all the teaching, you'll be able to ask questions. It's live, so your questions will be answered live, okay? The main difference, if you come to the course, is that, you'll get a hard copy of the booklet. If you're coming online on the Crammer, you'll get a PDF. And then, like we provide lunch, refreshments. Sometimes people find it helpful to meet other doctors, to form study groups and things like that. Some people also find that when they're looking at a screen, it's a long day, it's intense, it's 8-hour day plus. That some people find that when they're there in person and they can concentrate for that long. Some people do find it more difficult to concentrate on a screen for 8 hours. It's a long time. I appreciate that. Other people find it really helpful in that if, for example, they've got children and they need to take a break for 5-10 minutes, they can miss that bit, they can come back, okay, they've missed 5 minutes, but at the course, they wouldn't have that opportunity. And some people find if they can't travel, it's better to attend the live stream than not attend at all, okay? Any other questions? Okay, great. So I can't see any other questions. So if it's okay, I'd just like to say thank you very much, everybody. I'm going to leave it now. Once we've set the date, webinar, which will be 1.5 hours of teaching on the SRA, including practice questions. I'll have all the material prepped for that. I will ping a message into the group, and I will also send a message to Maha. She can distribute it in the group. So you're all welcome to join. I hope to see you then. And if any of you have any questions, you can always email me or contact me on Facebook. Do join the GP training support group if you're particularly interested in applying to GP, because we've got lots of useful resources for that. But this SRA, for any of these specialties, the course you'll find helpful and the online question. Main thing, the more effort you put in, the better you're going to do. Prepare for anything and you will succeed, inshallah. Okay, we do our bit, we do our hardest. After that, we make dua to Allah, and the rest is not in our hands, is it? Okay. So I hope that's been useful. Thank you very much for giving up part of your evening on a weekend, especially. Jazakallah khair again for inviting me, Maha. Assalamu alaikum, everybody, and all the best. Hope to meet you also. Please remember me in your duas as well. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.